Welcome to the Konglish Talk podcast, a chill talk show brought to you by some States girl and Korean guy living in Korea. My name is Leah.
And I'm Diaz, and today's topic is saving one's faces.
Not to be confused with getting a new face.
Oh yeah, definitely. You guys might heard about the word saving one's face a lot. That's really important in Eastern culture, so we're gonna talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, don't forget to follow us as at the alert. Saving one's face is really important when you come to Korea because lots of people will act to save their face and to respect others. Even if they aren't, we have to show that I'm respecting you like that.
So, in America, we have a kind of similar phenomenon of saving face. And we actually use this. This is like the correct translation that we would use in English. So we have a similar kind of thing where we do something polite, not only because it's good for society that you're polite to others, but you don't want to be perceived as somebody who is really negative or really bad, especially in workplace situations or when you first meet people. However, I will say that in America, we definitely are devoted more to individualism. We're taught from a very young age to be independent and be responsible for our futures. I mean, since we are young, our parents tell us, like, you have to get a job and you have to, at least in my household, it was like, we want you to move out, like that kind of thing. So in America, we do consider other people's feelings and we are polite and we do word things in a way that is polite. But I think that we aren't afraid to be honest with people. I think in Korea, people lie a little bit more sometimes in some situations, or they don't point out a higher person's flaw or problem because they don't want to embarrass them. So, for example, when you're if you're in the US and this is a very simple example, somebody comes out of the bathroom, maybe an old man comes out of the bathroom, and he has a piece of toilet paper stuck to his foot. Like, in America, most people will tell him, hey, you have this happening maybe, so just letting you know. And we're trying to be nice, but it's going to embarrass that person. In Korea, nobody's going to say anything to you in that situation, usually, because they don't want to risk embarrassing you. So this is kind of is case by case in America too. So, like, for example, if you're eating with somebody in America, if you're going out to eat, for the most part, people pay their own bill. People pay their own way most of the time because eating out in America is really expensive. So unless somebody is really generous, like if it's a business dinner, or like, I don't know, it's like celebrating something.
Or if somebody said in advance that I'm gonna buy you a food or something like that.
Yeah, you just pay your own bill. And there's no expectation for the other person to pay for it just because they're older. But in Korea, a lot of people, especially if they happen to be older than you or of higher status, a lot of times they just pay for the meal, and it's actually rude to say no. Whereas, like, in America, we're kind of trained, like, you should say no if somebody offers, because if you accept something too easily, it can be seen like you're using them for their money or something. So for most Americans, it's actually kind of rude to right away accept somebody paying for the meal. But in Korea, of course, between friends, this is different. But in another situation, it's actually rude to refuse and say no.
In the Western culture, you guys have your individual characteristics, so that even if somebody is low, or like even if somebody is higher than you, or if somebody has another characteristic, you guys mostly just respect their characteristic and think that, well, he's he, she's she, I'm me, so that you guys don't care. But in Korea, we cares really much that the face shown to the others, not the physical face. We call that social face, cheon.
Yeah.
Even in the Western culture, you guys have the noblesse oblige. In Korea, we have more than that a little bit, I think. Well, if I'm a CEO and Leah is a employee to my company, then when we go out together, I will buy her a drink or food because I'm on a higher social status than her, and by buying her food, I can show that I have this kind of like a social status and social face so that I can be shown better. Thinking of the Hagwon that we used as a topic, and I always said that Korea people are eager to go higher college, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't only happen in the Korea. It happens to the Eastern Asian countries fairly well. Well, they might have another reason to go higher, to get a higher position. Well, in Korea, we also have similar things, but there's a reason that Koreans become really enthusiastic to this. Because mostly, when your children go to the school, moms gather together and they make their own party.
Mm-hmm.
Not the political party, but like, social gathering.
Yes.
No children will get the same score and no children will get the same degree. In Korea, there's a rule that the mom whose children get a higher score is more powerful than other moms in there.
Mm.
And other moms will ask her that, where did you send your children? Like, which private school your children go? Long story short, getting a high score also makes your mom's social face higher. So that's why we study really a lot, and the Korea is in an educational fever really well. If I violate the high maximum speed on a highway, I will just pay like $100 and that's it. Nothing will happen. But what if a senator in the States violate the high speed? What happens?
I don't know. I guess they probably I mean, they're supposed to get a fine, but they can easily pay it, I guess.
Yeah. That's how we think.
That's it.
Just paying a fee will be done, right?
Yeah.
But in Korea, when a politician violates the high speed, then the whole television will say a politician violated a high speed, and he might have to stand on the photo line and say, I'm sorry, I violated high speed, blah blah blah. Well,
really?
Yeah. And
we only do that for like serious stuff. Like they got caught in embezzlement, or like, I mean, America's still a little bit like, I think like if they are really high profile and like they cheated on their partner really publicly, like maybe there's not necessarily an apology, but there's like a statement sometimes with stuff like that. Yeah. But not for like a traffic violation.
Even if you have a small flaws in Korea with a high society level, then many people will say he ruined his social face.
Wow.
Let me talk about this. Affair, well, it's bad for your families and saving your house, but that's not a felony, isn't it?
No.
But in Korea, if a politician got spotted that he's doing an affair, then whole news will be covered with his photos, and he will stand up on the photo line, and he will even bow to others, and I'm sorry, I have to be dad like that, and that will be a big fucking thing. That will be, I know that's morally bad thing, but
right.
But it's not a felony, so he doesn't have to be burdened by something.
Yeah.
Except from his wife.
I mean, I'm sure that people on social media would totally, like, blast them and, like, give their opinion and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But And I'm sure, like, especially with today's social media and stuff, like, I'm sure that they would probably maybe make some kind of statement, but I don't think that it's the same kind of social pressure that, like, a famous Korean person would probably feel, because, like, I mean, you'll see celebrities who are like, I don't give a fuck. And, like, they'll stand up there and say, I don't give a fuck. Like, some people might care a little bit, like, oh, this makes me look bad. And so some of them do try to save face and be like, yeah, I'm sorry. So that does happen, like how it is in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
But there are just as many people that'll be like, yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, you know.
Yeah. You will be that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the Tiger Woods. Well, even someone made the 12 balls of his former affairs.
Yeah.
But he's still playing as a pro golf player.
Yeah.
What if he was a Korean? He will be dead, socially.
Yeah, I think Korea is much better at cancel culture than America is. This is another reason, too, why, so, like, just because of the way that things are socially set up in Korea, the way that people socialize is a lot more strategic than it is in America, where, yes, we should be polite to people who are older or people who might, like, be our boss or, you know, people the same age as us. We should have that politeness, but in general, Americans have this equality kind of, ideal to us, so that makes us a lot more informal compared to other cultures where it can be seen as rude in Korea. So that's why you have to kind of act a certain way like that in Korea. Now, as a foreigner, a lot of Koreans are very aware that of our culture and the way that we kind of act. So depending on the Korean that you're interacting with, some of them might drop the formality a little bit because they understand there's a cultural difference. But you should still be just as aware of their culture and how to act in certain situations. And I've also noticed, like, I mean, I've noticed a little bit, maybe it might be a language thing too, but like a little bit of a difference between how my Korean friends interact with me and how they interact with other Koreans. It's like, when they're talking to other Korean friends, but when they're talking to you, it's really casual, so usually. So you're just kind of like, oh, like, what happened? What happened?
Okay, so that's also an example. So when you greet to your children, how do you say?
I say, hi.
Okay, what about to your coworkers?
I say, good morning.
What about to the employer?
Just same. Good morning. Hi.
Okay. To your parents?
The same. Good morning. Hi.
Yeah. Mostly you will say good morning starting from your children, I mean the lower social state person to the president. But
I mean
in Korea we have a different level, so
yeah.
To the children, I will say 안녕, and to my friends, I also say 안녕 to the like in comfortable ways, but to the higher person, the words become longer. 안녕하세요, 안녕하십니까, 평안하셨습니까, blah blah blah. There's lots of variety things that you have to care about. That, well, this is a little bit hard to explain that fairly well. I might make another videos with that about the
level of formality.
Next week is Lunar New Year. Maybe we're gonna talk about that next week. So
yes.
Okay, this is all for this week, and we're gonna see you on next week. Woo!
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe.